Alright everyone, welcome back to SHARCOM 2021. I can hear myself now. So we have the 3 chosen charities for Speed Simpsons to donate to. The Trevor Project, the Save the Children, and 350.org. More information about these charities can be found down below. If you want to donate, you can all gift subs and bits go towards these charities equally, or you can go and to !donate, and you have the choice of giving to 3 separate charities individually. Now with our current run, Bamford and LP3 with It Takes Two.
Oh boy.
Oh,
No. Okay, so we will be leaving VC. So how we'll do this is you guys know when timer starts. So you guys can just watch the restream and tell the restreamer when to start the timer. Which it'll be slightly delayed, but that's. I'm going to go off the screen. Alright, we will head out to another VC. Yep, you're right.
Done. Okay. Now we can all tell them how much they suck, chat.
yeah, dude.
They're
Hello.
great. Okay, so the timer's gonna start basically
Hello.
start as soon as they press proceed here.
Alright,
I won't
ready?
worry about it too much. But basically, well, actually, I guess continue on time.
So don't have to
Begin
timer.
now. Begin the time.
This
Very
game's a little bit
good.
interesting as it goes. We play in-game time as opposed to real time because the loads are quite different depending on your system in this game.
Pray.
Yeah. As it is for most PC games. By the way, I guess we should introduce ourselves. I'm Glint, or G-Lint, whatever you'd like to call me. And then I'm commentating with
I'm not
my
moving.
co-runner, Papa Jan, or
Should
Jan.
work then.
We also run this game, and it is
Good.
very fun, and you should all run it as well. They also got the wake-up call glitch, which they were going to attempt one time.
Try. Oh my
This-
goodness.
All I could say about this glitch is, thankfully, it is at the beginning of the run, because there's
I'm
absolutely
gonna wait for the.
no rhyme or reason to it. But the kind of there is, but there honestly isn't at all. But got it first try. It saves about 15 seconds, which is really cool. Oh, they got the super glitched one. Okay, we didn't get to see it because it was from Ban's perspective. But
So basically what happens in that trick is they try and trick the game into thinking that Cody is still
I'm
holding
100%
that
on
fuse that goes into the
freaking
breaker there. So by
Marathon
going to the
says
chapter select as he's
nuts.
dropping it, it allows them to duplicate it. It's called what they call item state
I knew that
glitch.
one would work.
yeah, something
Trying to
really
remember the
I'm look-
specific name of it in that regard, but
they're not talking iron.
hey, we got some of the
Respect with us.
ITT community here. Heck yeah.
Yeah, we got some ITT runners in chat. But yeah, so basically, how this is gonna end up working. So they got the glitch, but they got the messed up one where stuff will be a little messed up for a while. But other than that, they could just reset the lobby to fix it. Normally you wouldn't do that in a run because you would want to just get it straight away because it just loses time if not. And welcome to the first major sequence break of the game. We go straight to biting the dust as a second subchapter. And from here, my game feed is going to completely pause.
Yeah, my game the feed is also paused for you there.
Yeah. Oh,
It's paused for me as well.
now we're
Uh-oh.
full screen gamers.
Technical difficulties. Oh. Yep. Now he's go. Okay, well, from what we can see, okay, well now it's back. We're here as full screen gamers now, but essentially what they've done is they've climbed up a super sketchy wall section of Biting the Dust, and they've gotten to what's called a RCP, a reset from checkpoint, where quite often through the run you'll see runners just get to certain areas and then reset from checkpoint because they've collected it and they can use it to bring them forward or reset triggers or things like that that'll allow them to progress and not absolutely break the game. So quite often you'll see people just having to get to a particular point and then reset from checkpoint, and it makes it so certain times in this game both people have to get to a checkpoint in order for it to count, but sometimes just one person has to get there and you can boost both people there by resetting.
Yeah, there's basically just a bunch of triggers like Papayan mentioned, where we need the game to like catch up, because if not we would just lose a bunch of time. So there's going to be quite a few like that in the game. There's actually going to be the main distinction between this game's any percent category, which Bam and LP are currently running, and the out of bounds category is another similar piece of tech that we use called mini game warps. There's a bunch of mini games in this game where if you reach them, we can get to them a lot earlier than we're supposed to. The most impactful one about this will be much later in the game, but we could basically accelerate the process of the stage of the game heavily and end up saving a ton of time.
Absolutely.
So another great out of bounds here. There is quite a few like this that are a little bit dark and it's kind of hard to see what's going on, but they're again skipping basically the entirety of this stage by getting out of bounds and finding the most direct line basically towards the end. And we're going to see the first boss, or I guess second boss of the game here. Boss in air quotations.
Yeah, we're going to see our toolbox friend. The thing that's very annoying about our toolbox friend, or rather, well, annoying for the developers, but great for us, is that a hitbox for his final damage phase spawns into the world very early on. And you're going to see Bam here head to this little spot and throw his nails, and there he finds it really quickly, which is good. And LP3 is just going to hammer away. And he's going to take out what would be a paint aerosol can on top of the toolbox that explodes and kills the toolbox in a big boss fight. And that allows to end that chapter of the game, or sub-chapter, I should say, and move on to the next section.
Yeah. A very good bit on time save. And it's also really nice because the old route that we had that actually fought the boss was much more annoying. So the alternative is very nice. So here, the two runners are actually going for two separate strats. Am is going for what we call rail clip, where if two rails are close enough to each other, and even if there's a wall in between them, you can use the prompts between both rails to allow you to clip through the terrain. And then LP was going for a strat called backbike. Backbike is super annoying, and not every runner is super consistent with it. So they decide to split up the strats each way to make sure that they at least finish the chapter. If LP gets there a little bit faster, it could save a bit of time, but either way, it works out very nicely. And then that's Shed. That's the first chapter of the game done.
What is happening?
Uh-oh.
Controller gone, controller back,
I
and
was
we're
like,
now
I
on
saw
tree.
controller disconnected. So yeah, now we're in the tree chapter of the game, where again, there's a few different strategies to get through this sub-chapter called Fresh Air, where Bam is going to take the strategy with the ropes, which is generally considered to be a little bit safer. It's a little less difficult than the way LP3 went, where you have to get through a few jump resets, where sometimes in this game there's collision absolutely everywhere. So there's certain parts on walls that you can hit, and it will reset your jump, your double jump, and your dash input that you can get.
The BM paper airplane, a classic.
And if you
Bam
can
taking
reset
way
those,
too
it'll allow
long.
you to get to new areas.
Bam going on an absolute adventure right now. But yeah, so basically the sub-chapter casually, you just be like kind of doing a couple laps up the tree, but there's certain areas, like you can see where Bam is right now, that you can kind of like cut in early and cut like one extra circle around the tree out and just save a bit of time that way. But yeah, a couple different strategies, and that is Fresh Air done. We move to Captured. This is where we're going to start getting into chapters that are a little bit longer, and where we're actually going to see our first minigame warp of the run. just after all these cutscenes that we have to sit through. There's like 4 cutscenes between these 2 sub chapters, which is a bit resident sleeper, but here we are.
Some of the cutscenes in the game too, they are bufferable. So as soon as you see our resident Dr. Hakim, our lovely book tour guide throughout this game, if you see him pop up with the load, you can often hold down the cutscene skip button and it'll give you the best, quickest time to skip the cutscene. But be careful, as some cutscenes aren't necessarily bufferable, and you can end up having to scream at your partner that you're not skipping.
Yeah. Luckily enough, we can actually know which ones aren't bufferable. It's just you have to pay attention. Anytime you would reset from checkpoint, it doesn't allow you to reset. And then now we're going to get our first instance of an oyster in the run. Don't ask why it's called that. We just like shellfish in our community. But basically, slope terrain in this game acts in a really interesting way. So there's a slide mechanic in this game where you can like slide down terrain. You've been actually seeing BAM and LP use slide jumps a lot, which is a technique where if you're sliding and you jump, you get a massive jump, which we use everywhere to basically get to higher places in close gaps a lot faster. But this in particular is a technique where if you slide on a slanted piece of terrain that's very steep and then jump when the game decides, basically if you're sliding on that piece of terrain, the game will occasionally decide to just give you an absolute ton of speed. And if you jump right as the game gives you that speed, you will keep that speed and basically allow you to carry. So the gap that LP is trying to cross right now with this fraud jump into slide jump is the one that BAM crossed with that oyster.
There you see, Bam gets to the minigame warp, so then he goes into our play minigame menu, selects Tug of War, and it'll put him up through the floor, bring the game into a further along instance, and we now head into the next section of Captured here. So now, Bam is going to be going for Wasp Skip. Well, I guess both of these are technically both part of Wasp Skip, as you both have to get to certain triggers in different time. But LP3 is going to be heading across the bridge here and going for the captured wall clip, which he's going to attempt a new way that I'd recently found the other day to potentially brute force your way through this wall, because it's going to be very similar to what you saw Bam do in Shed, where he looked at one rail, looked at the other, and the prompt came up. And as we can see, as LP3 comes up to this wall here, there's a similar way that you can do that, where there's a rail on the other side of that tree wall there where you can clip onto. But as he said, he was going to go for it once, as it's very difficult. And hey, he gets the backup first try. Well done.
Technically, going for the route that he's going right now is not slow at all either, considering Bam's route through his half a Wasp Skip, since he should be able to make it to the end well before Bam gets there. Rail clip is only really necessary if both runners are going the fastest route possible, so this is still completely fine and doesn't lose any time. All right, I believe in Bam. This is a big oyster. If you fail this, it can be really annoying, but it looks like Bam got it. Very nice. There is a backup to not landing on that platform, because sometimes you won't get enough speed to make it across. But if you don't, and you fall, you can still back it up. Okay, he's still technically completely fine. Even if he falls down here, he's fine. He just has to land on the ledge. I hope he knows it's there. I think he does. Oh, is he just going to oyster to the platform? What is... Okay. Oh my god. He's a maniac. He made it. Okay. Thank the Lord. He made it. That was stressful. Okay.
Holy, that man just full center.
So yeah, that was the first instance of the game, like, where both players kind of split off and do two separate things in the game. There's been a couple instances where people could go different routes, but for now, that was the first instance of one person going one way and one person going the other.
Nope.
The reason why we were so scared for Bam there is that there's a lot of sections there where if you fall off to the left, then you end up just falling through the world infinitely, and the only real reset that you can get there is if you just go back to the very beginning where you warped to Tug of War. That's really the only checkpoint that you can get back to, which is very scary. But now, just recently, Bam actually was the one that found the new start to this, where this is the deeply rooted wall climb, where you head up the sides of the roots and all the knots that, again, because there's collision everywhere, you can bounce off of a lot of them, and then you end up out of bounds over here, and you can get a slide jump, which, ooh, that's going to be risky for Bam. Yeah. So you want to
I knew I
slide jump
wasn't
off
gonna
the
make
very
it, but I
top
was
there,
gonna-
and you head down towards this illuminated tunnel here, and you have to skip the death plane that you just saw Bam hit in LP3, able to get around it. You ground pound into a checkpoint, and you skip another massive section of the game, and you end up in our river section of the game, our lazy river section of the game.
Yeah, this is
You didn't even
so
say
the
it right, so
first
thanks, Obama.
the first like 8 to like 15 minutes of this game, depending on how fast you're going, can be absolutely insane. It's non-stop for like that period of time, and this is kind of like your first little break of the run. You kind of just like sit on this boat, and Cody kind of just goes around making shoots and stuff, but there's a little less gameplay now than there was everywhere else. But it's nice because after that much intense gameplay, you definitely want a little bit of a break for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, during this section, Ticker, if there's anything you wanted to add as far as the marathon side of things, please feel free to add a few things at this point, because it's pretty lackadaisical for the next little bit here.
I'll just mention donations for each of the charities. So
True. Well, this was like a 150.
for Save the Children, we had 2 donations to read out. One from LP3 saying, "Good luck to everyone in the marathon. Glad to see us all come together for not Charlo." Also, Axie sucks. He donated 100 Canadian dollars.
Oh, that's awesome. Way to be, LP.
And Tilbert has donated £30, saying money. There hasn't been any other donations that have come through to the other charities as far as I've seen. So, people feel free to donate. Go to !donate or like give the sub or bits, whatever. Back to you guys.
Very nice.
Oh. So as we saw there, Bam just Tokyo drifted around the corner there, as you guys are probably very used to in Char. But basically what he went for there is tried to get far enough into that next section of the cavern there to trigger a checkpoint that he could RCP, because that moves you forward just a little bit. So it's not a lot of time saved, but just a small optimization that RCP moves you ahead a little bit. And now we're into Tornado Town.
Yeah. This is where the boat section gets a little more intense. This is where making cycles actually matters a little bit more. There is a fastest line through this that can be a little spooky to hit, but it's not the worst. Save just a little bit of time. If you get too close to one of these tornadoes, it will suck up both players and then kind of spit you out, causing you to lose time. So you want to make sure you take the fastest line while also avoiding all of them. But yeah, we're coming to the...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we're coming to the tail end of the boat section here, though, which is nice. There's a chance for LP to hit a nice MLG shot at the last gate here through a little gap. Let's see if he's gonna go for it or not.
Looks like Bam's just gonna take a nice, safe, wide line on this tornado. Oh, and he just barely avoids the big suck. Basically, if you ever get the big suck from the tornadoes, the quickest way is just to die and respawn on the boat. So both people can actually fall off of the boat, and it really has no penalty per se, other than obviously being slower. You just respawn.
Very nice.
And he got the MLG. The nice thing about those tornadoes, though, too, is that I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but they do have the same cycle every time off of the RCP. So it's not like you're having to guess based off of where the first tornado is. Every time you RCP, the tornadoes start in the same position and follow the same path. So there is an optimal line through it, which is really, really nice. It takes away some of the guesswork for that section.
Most important trick in the game, hitting the rock. If you don't hit the rock, the run's not good.
Yeah, don't
So
ask
run
us
is
about
good.
it. Just know that it's cool.
Okay, so I'm not too sure if they're going to go for first lantern skip. I think they do. It's nothing super crazy. Yeah, they go. So normally you would have to shoot this first lantern to your right, but the other lantern is visible. So all you have to do is get a nice snipe across the river. And then once they can see the save, they RCP. There is a chance for a disconnect here, so they might DC. No, they're fine. But yeah, that just basically skips ahead that whole entire section. If you do it nice and fast, it can save a little bit of time, which is really good.
Absolutely. Normally you would shoot the first lantern there, spawn in more jellies, and off on your way. But if you're an MLG sniper, you're a speedrunner, you got to find all the ways that are fast.
That was sick.
And now we're on to the Fireflies, which is ironically one of weirdly enough is one of the most difficult sections for some people. I don't know what it is about these stupid things, but
I suck at these Fireflies. You just can't rush them.
Did they just, speaking of rushing, did they just false slide into the first one?
They might have.
Holy
That's-
cow.
Yeah, very nuts. But yeah, so here we're going to be entering the first literal AFK-able section of the game. So let's see. I don't know if they go for the accelerated fall into here, but I think they might. Yeah, it looks like LP might be going for the other way. Very nice. I think I'm going to start going for that way, actually, because I think it's faster. But there we go.
It's also really
So they get an
consistent,
RCP.
too.
Yeah, nice and RCP. So basically what happened, what LP went for there, is that you can land on a bit of terrain earlier and then use a ground pound to fall onto this catfish a little bit sooner. But now, it's very pretty, but literally both of you could step away from your computer for like a minute and a half and nothing would happen. So good pee break time. If anyone wants to go grab snacks, now would be the time. I hope everyone in chat's having a good time. You know?
What is that emote?
It's did time.
Diddle time.
Yeah, so we're just vibing on the catfish. As you can see, both of them are, you know, literally AFK. You could die, both players could die at the same time, it doesn't matter. It's just like an aesthetic fish section. So long as all of that's okay, and we are vibing on the fish.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having a race with LP3 on this section one time when we ran together of who could die more times. And I think LP3 beat me. He found a good spot for sliding off the fish as quick as possible. So yeah, we'd explained slide jumping, we explained RCPing, we explained minigame warping. Yeah.
Oysters semi-explained.
Oysters.
False slides are basically similar to an oyster, except you don't jump. So you just take the slide momentum that you would get from a sloped piece of terrain, and you just slide down with it. There'll be a couple instances where we do that. Wonder if they go for the RCP here. Oh, very close to needing it, but not quite.
Yeah, respawning midair, so.
So coming up here is going to be another example of how those Fireflies may be a little bit finicky. Coming up at the end of this tunnel is a section where normally you'd go along to the right, head across the bridge, use some Fireflies to boost onto that platform you see off in the distance. But now these guys are just going to jump as they spawn right here.
Close.
That's okay.
Yeah.
They both bonked a little bit there, but nonetheless, all you got to do is just head along the bridge as per intended by the game, hit the Fireflies, and boost onto the little elevator that'll take you up into Beetle Fight.
Yeah, so there was like a small skip there. Unfortunately, both of them missed it, but it is very finicky and quite annoying. But still, here we are. A nice little safe spot in this fight where you can literally just stand here and not move, and the wasps are very bad and have terrible aim and will just never hit you. So again, you can kind of just pull it up in here and just vibe a little bit with the platform.
Yep. Safe spots.
Yeah.
I think
There's quite
I don't think there's a single boss fight in this game or mini boss that doesn't have a safe spot at this point.
Yeah,
Other than
I
like
think there's...
say Beetle Fight that you actually specifically fight it but do it fast.
Yeah, no, there's quite a few that like you actually have to like avoid stuff. But for the ones that do, they are very just like you find it, you go to it, and you just don't do anything for an extended period amount of time. Stuff like the vacuum boss early in the game or Beetle Fight like Jan mentioned do require it. But yeah, so here comes a section where you just have to kill a couple wasps and then the elevator will keep moving up again. And we will be heading into Beetle Fight. So there's a couple in faster cycle. Faster cycle we can go for here that saves a little bit of time.
Very
but
true, Iron. Joy's second dodge phase is not safe spottable. Smoge.
yeah, it is not, unfortunately. I wish the whole fight was just not a fight, though. That'd be great.
So what's
Okay.
coming up here is Beetle Fight, where you have to fill up all of these little holes with the goop. The beetle will charge at you, and then May uses her matchstick gun to blow it up and deal damage to the beetle. After this second one, should they go for it, which looks like they are, if you stay close enough to the beetle, he will aggro onto Cody, and he'll just start doing his jumps right next to the hole, and there they go. They got that, so now if they just quickly head on over and get this one before he charges once again.
Nice.
Very clean and fast Beetle Fight. So all you do is as soon as you blow him up that second time, you just have to stand close enough to him to manipulate his aggro where he'll just kind of spin around in a circle. Sometimes it can get a little bit buggy and he'll he'll flip out and you're not sure what's going on. But nonetheless, he stays close enough that you can get a second damage off of him, off of filling up the goop there.
Yeah. And then now we are on to the just run and gun section of this game. You're basically on rails again. You can accelerate a bit by jumping. It is a bit spooky because you can try to fit as many jumps as you can, but there are gaps that you have to make across, so you kind of just have to balance the risk reward there. But basically, you run through this section. At the end of this, there'll be another boss fight that we'll have to do. The Big Wasp. So the lore of this particular stage, since you basically got to see absolutely none of it, is I guess we haven't really even talked about the story of this game and why there's like a clay doll and a wooden doll at all.
Not
but,
really, no. It's just been so fast-paced so far.
Yeah. Well, basically, since the rest of this subchapter or chapter is kind of boring-ish, besides like right towards the end, we can do a little lore explanation. Basically, our two main characters, May and Cody, are a couple who have decided to get a divorce because, you know, they ain't working. And their daughter, Rose, is just really just not happy about it. So she enlisted the help of everyone's favorite book, Dr. Hakim, written by Dr. Hakim. And Dr. Hakim was like, all right, we're going to turn them into dolls so they can work on their relationship. And now they're like, okay, well, we don't want to work on a relationship. We just want to be human again. And they're just trying their darndest to become human. And that is basically the entire plot of this video game. Got turned into dolls and didn't ask for it.
In the first few sections of the game, they think that has something to do with just getting back to Rose, because they start out in the shed out in the backyard, and then they go they escape the shed, and they end up in the tree, and they end up getting recruited by the squirrels to take out the wasps that have infested their tree. And so this is now the penultimate fight near the end of that, where we're trying to take on the Wasp Queen in the name of the squirrels, who actually gave us the sap gun and the matchstick gun. But now, here we go. You see Bam got the safe spot for this little section of the Wasp Queen fight, where you can just jump onto the little corner of that archway there and be able to avoid all of the bees, all of the wasps that come on out and try and mess up your day. As the Wasp Queen says, call in the airstrike!
Yeah. So basically, this boss fight, like many of the others in this game, are just like trying to optimize cycles as best as you can. So we basically try to put goop down and a bunch of things. This is probably like the most interesting thing that we do in this fight, where we try to spread a line, as we like to say, from the front of the bee to the back of the bee to allow us to break the back plate a little bit earlier. And then break the front plate. But other than that, the fight is basically done casually and just done as quickly as possible. So very fun. We're making some progress.
Bam did a really interesting thing there that I've not usually seen, is doing it the other way around. Usually people will start from the front side and then make a little spread line over to the back side, but then he started with the back and then moved it to the front right at the very end to maximize the amount of goop that he can get on the back, which is very interesting. I hope we will see the skip that was found today. Would be hype. I don't think that they're going for the Sugma skip, unfortunately, extension, but we will get to that.
Yeah. No. So after this subchapter, we'll have one more in tree, and then we'll be out of here. So the last one is the Getaway Section. So basically, what's going to happen lore-wise is that we're going to kill this giant robot wasp. It turns out it wasn't a wasp at all. Okay, spoilers for anyone that hasn't played the game. But it's actually a bee, and it was a queen bee the whole time. And she just wanted to feel important. And now the squirrels are really angry with us because we didn't get rid of the wasps. We started to side with the wasps, who are actually the bees. So we get chased away by the squirrels, and we try to use one of their planes to get into Rose's room, because if you recall, that is our current penultimate goal right now. And we basically just fly a plane for this entire next section. However, there is a skip in this section, even though it seems like it's basically on rails because you're in a tunnel the whole time. There was a new variation that was found literally yesterday, and it sucks and no one likes it. JK, Stevens, everyone loves you. But it is like a damage clip, so it's a bit risky at the moment, especially since we don't know exactly how it works. However, the original one is just a little bit later in the tunnel, and it's still difficult, but it is definitely a little bit more manageable at the moment. So I believe that's the one that we're going to see Bam go for. It is Snuggle Skip. Please do ask why it's called that. It's no particular reason. Yes, suck my balls. Thank you.
Oh my God.
And then, yes, so basically, we just love our these jokes in the community. But we, from here, now go basically throughout the entire thing towards about the halfway point, and then we just clip Oob, and we go directly to the end after that.
Is that enough to tick off the host swears bingo box? We don't count as hosts, technically, we're commentators, so it is not. Ticker's already in there. Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, so this is definitely one of the more finicky Cody tricks in the game. Like, in this game, obviously, it's a co-op game. It's considered that the Mays are generally the carries in this game because May has a few difficult tricks that are locked to her specific powers that go through the game, such as some of the scything that happens in Garden or the groaning that we'll see later in the Clock Tower. But Cody is definitely no slouch himself. He has a few really interesting tricks. He has the UFO skip that we're going to be seeing later on, as well as Snuggle Skip, which Bam and LP3, for some of the more professional settings that they've been in, have aptly named it Mortal Wombat Skip. Because normally what will happen as you head out the end of the tunnel in this section is you'll end up in a 2D fighter against the general of the squirrels.
Everyone pray for Bam. I believe in Bam.
Everybody get your prages ready. So
here he comes.
He's going to try and pull up and get out of a small crack.
Very clean.
Very well done.
Okay. So yeah, so you get Oob right there. Normally, you again, like Papa was mentioning, you would do like a little Street Fighter section, but we skipped that. So hence the Mortal Wombat Skip. But now we just fly to a trigger that is a checkpoint that we need to activate before the end of the level. And yeah, you just fly in a straight line. Very good on Bam for getting that first try. Definitely a quite finicky trick, but very well done. Good job.
If there's any more donations or things that Ticker wants to talk about, because this is mostly just like what 30 to 40 seconds of flying through Oob.
I don't think we have any donations. Just a reminder for everyone that you can type / donate in chat to donate to the Trevor Project, Save the Children, and 350.org. And there's a run coming up, Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, which should be 3 hours long. 3 hours-ish long. But yeah. You can continue.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ticker.
Yeah. So they just got the checkpoint, and now they're just flying towards Rose's room. We will see Rose momentarily through the completely okay-looking house. Don't ask any questions. It's fine. Structural integrity is completely fine. And there's Rose. So that is the end of Tree. Now we are heading into Rose's room, and we have a plan. The plan is to make Rose cry, because if Rose cries, then we will become human again. So the goal is to try to, do some stuff. Maybe we can make her cry, because that's what made us turn into dolls in the first place, right? She cried on the dolls, and we turned into dolls, and now we'll just make her cry again, and we'll turn into humans. So that is our goal in this
What
sub-chapter.
better way to wake up on a Saturday morning than to watch two parents harvest the tears of their daughter? Nothing better.
Exactly. Yeah, this isn't a game about fixing your relationship. This is just a game of turning back into a human.
So this was Pillow Fort. Basically, just get to the end as quick as you can and go up to this little CRT monitor and initiate a hacking sequence where then Moon Baboon, who we will see shortly, counterhacks us, fires us off into spaced out, and now we have to get through some more platforming here to get towards our penultimate fight against Moon Baboon, which you'll see actually, I believe the logo, the icon that Bam made features our glow sticks from later on in the game, as well as Moon Baboon himself.
We don't have it anymore because Bam's screen went full screen, but if you were here at the beginning of the run, you'll remember what we're talking about. But yeah, this is actually what they're doing is another mini game warp here. So the power gimmick in this particular area is Cody can become small and then become big. So that's cool, but May gets to swap gravity depending on certain platforms, so we can abuse that. So May actually went upside down, clipped through the floor, and then fell through an area to get to a mini game. And activating that game will again progress checkpoints to a particular area, and now allow us to do a massive skip. So normally in Spaced Out, there's a bunch of like little teleporter rooms, which you'll see Cody go into one right now, with a bunch of puzzles that you would normally have to do to activate this gravity field a certain number of times until you could reach the top. However, there are ways for both characters to get all the way to the top without having to do all of them. Part of that is the minigame warp that we just saw, but from this stage, May uses gravity to swap her gravity sideways, and you'll see her in a second run across the rails all the way to the top. And Cody, I'll let Jan explain this as the Cody runner. Or not.
Okay. So it's just and like right into it. I wasn't sure if that was the end of your sentence or not. So Cody goes and he smuggles that little trophy that you saw him carrying out of the teleporter, comes back in, puts it down, shrinks, tucks underneath it, and then attempts to pick it up and grow at the same time, which puts him into a glitch state where the game still thinks he's normal size, but he's small, which allows him to move at incredible speeds while holding onto this trophy. And he's now going to place it down there just as a backup in case when LP3 comes out of here, he misses the button, because that trophy, while invisible, is still able to be interacted with and jumped on top of in case LP3 had missed ground pounding that button there to move the pipes around.
Yeah. So basically, very, very cool skip that was found that saves a tremendous amount of time. And then we move into the Moon Baboon boss fight. So there's different phases to this boss fight and a couple optimizations that can be made, but primarily, at least in this first phase, it's just to play casually and do it fast as possible.
There's a few ways that you can avoid these lasers. You can BM it as Cody and use his shrink to actually, if you're in Cody's smallest phase, you aren't even tall enough to get hit by the lasers, so you can just stand in one spot, shrink. But essentially all you want to do is just get to the pillars in time enough, because Moon Baboon will take a little bit to charge up his laser before he fires it off. So the lineup is usually just about halfway in between the two sets of lines, as long as the person is standing on top of it. And who the laser targets is always predetermined. It's always the same order. It always targets Cody, May, Cody. And so basically you just have to wait for Moon Baboon to fire off all of his salvos of laser bombs, and then you head on up as May to have the laser track up the wall high enough to hit the power source. And here we are. We're going to use Cody's largest form in order to lift up Moon Baboon. And we're going to, don't touch things down there. We're going to rip off his laser.
No innuendo there at all. Completely fine. And now we're just gonna try to land the UFO. So we're gonna use these rockets that he's shooting at us and ride them, as you do in video games, and ride them into the Moon Baboon and blow them up. There's a small skip that Cody can go for here. Off of the second rocket, you're actually able to land on the UFO, which will have a reason for afterwards. Unfortunately, due to cycles, I don't think it's gonna happen, because
LP3 unfortunately, or sorry, Bam, yeah, he unfortunately hit the bottom side of the UFO there. So very good placement for just hitting the UFO quickly, but not to land on top of it, because if you land on top of it, shrink, and end up right near that open gap there, or the open flap, then you'll just skip this whole phase of having to walk over and go inside.
Yeah, you'll actually enter it partway through the cutscene. I did not know that May could get on top of that in the cutscene. That's funny.
Coming up here is UFO Skip. So off the RCP, there's certain cycles that happen in here. So Bam is going to head up right to this spot here, and he's going to do a sequence of blind jumps off camera that are going to allow him to manipulate where Cody ends up. Is he going to get it? Nice. It looks like he's going to get it first try.
Indeed, yeah, first try.
So that's a sequence of blind jumps off camera. So you memorize the inputs, and that's basically all there is to it. There is a way that you can practice it by going further in the level and resetting your camera so you actually have control of it, because in that section the camera is locked. But once you can get control of it, you can practice it, get the inputs down. Essentially, you want to jump on some batteries off screen. You grab onto a wall, you land on top of a platform that's off to the right, and you use that to jump across out of bounds, skip a few spots, and you get one of those RCPs that we were talking about, so that you can respawn over there and finish that section. I think it skips about, what, 20 to 30 seconds?
Yeah, I think it's about a 30-second time save. Basically, you just skip from near the beginning of that platforming section to near the end of it. So, bunch of time save. This is one of our first impactful RNG sections in the run. Time is not like super tight to the point where this is like very impactful yet, but it's starting to get to the point for like the ILs and etc. where good Moon Baboon RNG is definitely kind of needed. But Moon Baboon can decide to fly in any direction and for basically any amount of distance after you shoot him. And you want the smallest amount of that for each one to get good RNG.
And all you would do there is RCP just to manipulate where his first spawn is, and I think after that there's really nothing you can do except pray.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, one of your favorite chapters is Hopscotch.
Yeah, I've actually come to hate this now. I forgot how to do it, so here I am, and I just let you or I let Good Noise do it for me now. This section is completely cycle based, and there is definitely ways to get through it very quickly. And the fastest you make it through it, the better. But obviously, it can be a bit awkward. As you can see, the rotating blocks are not very friendly. But yeah, we actually completely.
So hard there. Let's
this subchapter is very. We just skip a lot of it. So like the entire gimmick of this subchapter is like basically skipped. Basically, the first thing we do is like kind of do a bunch of slide jumps, which allow us to skip a bunch of terrain and stuff like that. And then now we get to use the rails and clip out of bounds, or not even clip out of bounds, but just go out of bounds here. And then we're going to go to another mini game. So again, another instance of mini game warping, where we're going to use it to accelerate the stage of the level and then be able to progress from there.
Another example there of Bam using a slide jump. And the slide jumps, really, once we understood them fully and how much momentum you could get from them, I believe it was a couple of weeks into speedrunning the game that we actually discovered them and realized how potent they were. They opened up such a new tier of tricks that you could accomplish, because when you do the slide jump, it only counts as your first input for a jump. So you still get a double jump and a dash out of the slide jump. So it allows access to so many new areas.
My favorite part of the game. I love fidget spinners. Look at them go. They're flying. They're zooming. I love fidget spinners. All right, fidget spinners are done. We are gone. Okay, on to Kaleidoscope.
And always remember the wise words of Dr. Hakim. Life is like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
But we skip it.
Yeah. But yeah. No, we... Fidget spinners is very funny because there's an oob that we can get to that's like right near the beginning that sends us right towards the end. So you do that and then you're gone.
Now what we're going to do here now that we're in Kaleidoscope is we're using a little manipulation of when we get our dash and jump back to get out of bounds there as we fell down, and now we're using, again, death warping as it's called, to get to different areas of the map. And now they essentially avoided having to go through that initial tunnel. They death warped through it to get to this section where all you have to do is ground pound and connect those lines of ever-changing shapes and colors. And obviously there's no death warp for this tunnel, so they just head on through.
I will say,
if heading to the tower.
I will say, if you are sensitive to lights at all, I will give the mildest of seizure warnings here. It doesn't get very intense, but it does get a little disorienting at times. So. I'll let you know when you can look back, but it is not very long, and is almost nearly at the end of it by now.
What is it?
Yeah, so just be aware this section is a little wonky.
Yeah. But yeah, we're nearly at the end of Hopscotch, which is this subchapter of the game. They just have to climb to the top of this tower, and then they will be done. You can definitely just look back now, by the way. Everything, all the lights are gone. We're vibing now.
I remember in the casual playthrough this section of the game, because like you actually have to spend the full like intended time playing through Hopscotch. It would make me motion sick. But then again, I'm also the kind of person that gets motion sick playing Sea of Thieves. So here comes the shortest subchapter in the game, Train Station.
Yep.
Basically, all you're gonna do here. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say this actually has a very interesting trick in it too. I'll let you explain it though, because it is very cool and also Cody tech.
Almost. So essentially, normally what would happen in Train Station here is you want to grab all these dolls, place them in their spots, and it allows you to connect the power to the little gate here that you can open up. And Cody's going to manipulate with the dolls, and he's going to look at one of the spots you can drop them. He's going to jump, look at the other, and then try and drop it. And the game thinks that you've put the doll in both places while only using one of them. And so that allows you to clear that area and open the gate a lot faster so you can head on into Dinoland. It's a very spooky trick though, because if you don't go and grab a backup doll, you can actually soft lock the game and you'll have to restart at the beginning of Train Station.
Yeah. Basically how it works is the game thinks that you're placing it in a slot, but Cody can't activate his drop animation while mid-air. So you use it, you put it in the slot so the game thinks it's there, and then you put it in the other slot while also in the, while landing or in the air, and it'll basically give you interactions in both slots. So it allows you basically to use one doll as two dolls to save time. Very cool.
There's not too much that happens here in Dinoland during the actual run of it. It's fairly normal. You just have to grab onto these platforms as the green dino in order to stop them from flipping when the red dino smashes on the red platforms or pieces there. And then you just keep on moving the platforms around so the red dino can continue on. But now as we head to the end of Dinoland, this is the one sort of big skip that you can do. You can skip the entire end section of the game. LP3 is going to use the dino to lift that platform up, which actually activates the end checkpoints of the game. And then he's going to jump through a little gap there. There's an invisible platform he can jump on there. He's going to use the slide jump to carry his momentum and hit that lever and finish the level. Some very cool tech that you can just kind of skip a bunch of the end section of that game. And now we're going to head into, oh boy, 2-cycle octopus boss, Pirates Ahoy.
Yes, everybody's favorite boat section. Everybody loves boats. You're going to be entering a paddle boat, which could be a little finicky, especially online. But this subchapter is alright. It's just very finicky, especially once you're getting accustomed to it.
So essentially, all that has to happen here is that both players work together to move the paddle boat forward. You'll both have to hit forward, and whoever has more momentum going, or it's no different than paddling a canoe. If you want to turn one way, someone's got to stop paddling or paddle in the opposite direction. And you both have a cannon mounted to the front of the boat that you can use to bablat and gagat all of these octopi guys that are trying to defend their octopus leader right at the end of the level. But essentially, the name of the game here is to just get through as quick as you can, shoot what's in your way, and not bump into any walls.
Okay.
Some clean lines so far. Oh, a little too far left. Nice, clean adjustment. Another relatively on-rails section with slight optimizations to make it faster, but still relatively cool. There is a, Jan mentioned, bigger boss at the end of this, which will have the possibility to be two-cycled. It doesn't quite look like a two-cycle. We call it a two-cycle because the boat gets flipped 2 times. And if you get it within 2 boat flips, then it is a two-cycle. Actually, I don't know. I think it is 2 flips. But basically, there's a phase that you could either kill him in or get another phase after that. And it could save like 20 seconds if you get it a little bit faster. But it is a very tight window. So we are going to attempt the 2-cycle, but no promises because it is very tight. I believe in our boys though. 2-cycle easy every time, no problem.
Yeah, no, there's still, I think we still haven't exactly
There's also
figured out
Monka's.
what it is that will guarantee a 2-cycle. It's mostly just hope that you fire off enough
Oh,
cannonballs quickly
Monka's,
enough to damage him. Like just do damage for it. But it's very finicky because sometimes you'll look like on the health bar that you've done more than enough damage, but it still won't trigger. And there's sometimes where it looks like the octopus still has health left, but then boom, you'll be at the end of the fight and you can RCP and head on your way.
Yeah, I think desync is a massive proponent of this, especially when playing online. Okay, here we go. See if they get the damage. There is a visual indicator that we can use to potentially tell whether they got enough damage. They are missing a couple shots.
They are steering this boat right now.
Yeah, this boat is going places. But I believe we're going to look at the damage indicator and see if they got close to the damage that they need. But this is Cody Cam, so I'm actually not too sure, because that Cody and May Cam are a little different here. But I think they might have missed out on damage. I'm not too sure.
See, I've seen damage around that mark still get it. Like it's very weird. So basically all you have to do in this section, hold right, shoot the ducks as they pop up. That's the quickest way to do that. And then here you get a few cheeky shots on the octopus before he flips you over again. And again,
they can get one or
you
two
get
shots
another
where they
cheeky
might
shot
do.
here.
Okay,
Oh,
this could be
there.
very close to 2-cycling.
So there'll be 3 tentacles that pop up here. You have to shoot each of them, and then he'll pop up once more. He'll flip you, and then you'll have the chance to shoot him once more. See if you get it.
Believe. Oh, they were like a shot off. So
One
close.
shot away. Oh no.
Yeah.
That's okay though.
I guess
All you
that
have
should.
to do in this case is shoot a few more tentacles, and you're back at it again.
There's a chance for you to kill this left tentacle too if you're fast enough. Ooh, close. It'll save like another 5 seconds or so. But it's still a decent amount of time lost because you need to kill all those tentacles and then kill the boss. But that there is a good example of how tight that cycle is, that you can be like one shot off and miss it.
Whose bingo card says someone gets 2 cycled? Yeah, but no, we appreciate you, chat, for coming out. I know I've seen Iron, I've seen Extension, obviously all you Simpsons hit and runners that are here to support today. We really appreciate it, and we're always happy to see runners from other communities come over and join ITT. Bam and LP3 have been a pleasure in the ITT community so far. So you guys have got some good boys on your hands.
Oh boy. Okay, so LP is going to go for the Death Warp here, and Bam's just going to be climbing through the gap. The Death Warp is a little bit faster, but can be a bit finicky, especially since LP is just not getting any luck with a slide jump. There we go. That should be actually it, potentially? Yes, it was. Very nice.
Oh, nice.
The Greatest Show is very good aside from the cannon. If you have some practice with the cannon extension, it'll come, I promise. But it's definitely a little bit finicky. I've had more than a few good laughs trying to get through this section. But essentially what LP3 was going for at the very beginning there with the Death Warp is that if you land against some green cushions that are on the other side of the wall high enough and touch it before you end up hitting a death plane at the bottom, you'll warp onto this side of the wall that you saw Bam trying to get through on the back of that cardboard big top. Then we get to the cannon section. It's basically just practice and knowing when to fire the cannons and making sure you do it as quickly as possible when your partner's reset from dying after blowing up the balloons.
There's some visual lineups that you can use which don't make it too bad, but getting the fastest cycle can definitely be a bit awkward. So here we're going to be using a cool little Death Warp to accelerate this last section of Greatest Show. So basically, I don't know which player is going to do which half of it, but one player will put the marble down next to a ledge, while the other player will progress later onto the level, set their death checkpoint to a particular area. So this blue cushion here. So Bam's going to grab that cushion, start making his way back, and now you just have to make a relatively precise jump onto this ledge, which isn't too bad. And so long as you don't go too high on that platform or too far on that platform, you will keep the same death checkpoint. And while holding the marble, you can just warp back over there and skip the middle section of that puzzle, basically. Basically, in the entire puzzle, honestly. But
very well done to Bam to hit that first try. That one can be a bit finicky depending on where the marble gets placed and how those boards interact. Essentially, you just want to like do the animation where you pull yourself up onto the top of wall and tap forward a little bit, and that should put you on that very thin platform, but again, still a very small window of opportunity to land there.
Yeah, very tight. Okay.
And Cody will
now,
never tell us what he didn't finish building.
No. So now we'll be heading into Greatest Show. This is probably very close to the second fastest subchapter in the game. Actually, maybe not after Wake Up Call now. Wake Up Call is actually very fast now. But in this one, there's like a bunch of stuff that you can mess around with casually here. But literally all you have to do is turn this bowling ball in front of the door. And, you know, just swing back and forth and pray that you don't get a 14 knock.
Remember this elephant that you see at the top of Bam's side of the screen. It's very important for later on in the chapter.
I hope you all like elephants.
Oh yes, elephants are our favorite animal.
Very nice.
That was a 3 knock, I think, was it not, or was it 4?
Yeah, I think it was a 3 knock. But very good.
The most
and now
we've
comes
seen at that door was 14.
yeah. And now comes a nice little ARPG section of the game. But due to the mechanics of the game, we could just easily clip out of bounds and just run up here really fast.
They've been practicing that. That was crack nasty fast.
That was very fast, yeah.
Wow. So essentially what they do there is they abuse the powers that Cody and May get in this section to kind of boost themselves up the walls there to get out of bounds. Cody has his teleport, and May has a dash that is associated to her spear there. And they use that momentum that those abilities give them to kind of wiggle their way up the wall and get out of bounds.
Don't go too high.
And so,
don't go too high. Don't go too high.
There we go.
If they clip back in bounds anywhere in that upper area, so you couldn't see any of it because it was all covered, but the area that they're running through now, if they fell into this area, then they would have had to completely reset the chapter. Or I guess they might have been able to reset from checkpoint, but yeah. Now they do this section.
A couple of spots in there that you can use the powers to boost back up. I remember them showing me one once upon a time where there's still a few corners, but they're extremely difficult to get as backups.
No. I think anywhere in this particular area that they're in is a soft lock though. There are areas earlier on that you for sure can get out of bounds again, just due to like the rocky terrain and stuff. But I think since the straight wall nature of that particular area, it's unfortunate. But yeah, so they go through that little chase section, which is basically an auto scroller into another boss fight here.
They vanquished the scary doll. Now it's onto the Immortal Troll.
Okay, so I guess we can give a little bit more lore on this particular subchapter now too, since we can kind of just talk
few
about
parts are mostly just auto scroller and making sure the troll hits the right spots.
Yeah.
So this is Rose's room. Go ahead.
So basically, as we mentioned before, the plot of the game right now, or our current goal, is to make Rose cry. And since we've made it to Rose's room and we figured out that she can't interact with us, we're going to try to make her cry. And how we decided to do that is just to murder her favorite toy. So we're making our way up the castle right now to try to find her favorite toy, and then just get disposed, as we might say, of her, and hopefully that will make Rose cry. And then, since that's what's going to turn us back into humans, then everything will be all right after that.
Yeah, we already vanquished one toy. We already got rid of Moon Baboon, and now why not just take out Ellie the Elephant King as well, or Queen, I should say. But yeah, so now we've moved into the King and Queen fight. So obviously not the Queen that we want to go and terrorize just quite yet. This is a chessboard match. And this is completely RNG. So the strategy here is essentially just to follow the Queen, because the King will always follow the Queen. I don't know if it's my internet that's dying or yours, Glint, but your screen is going terrible. And yes, essentially that was actually fairly good RNG for them. All they had to do there was follow the Queen, and the King will follow along, because obviously he moves like a chess piece. He can only do his movements at a time, but the Queen can do whatever the heck she pleases. The best RNG we've ever seen is seeing the king and the queen both stay within like 4 squares of the door where they begin, and that was phenomenal.
Really good RNG. But yeah, so now it is time to dispose of the queen. If you like elephants, might now probably a good time to look away for like you know,
Extension
while.
knows. Extension knows. If this were in GDQ, we hope that Kill the Animals is winning. That's all I can say.
Yeah, because you know, dispose. No, at the beginning, every runner kind of doesn't like it. You know, they're like, this sucks, and now everyone is just very excited to see the queen die because it just means we get to move on to the next chapter.
There's actually a channel command in Big Man's chat now. Lovable Big Man, one of our mods and founder of many of the tricks in this game, and current world record holder with Just AJZ, where Alien God, one of our also fellow community members and runners, has a copy pasta, except it's not a copy pasta because he writes it out every single time. It's like a paragraph about why the queen actually is terrible and like a dictatorship and deserves to be vanquished and all these things. It's quite entertaining.
Good copy pasta.
But yeah, basically all this is just moving your joystick or your keyboard WASD in the direction, pulling her towards the edge, and then it's just a bunch of mashing. Oh, did you find it?
Yeah, I found it.
Well done. And as soon as the queen falls to the ground there, that is the end of our longest chapter in the game, Rose's Room.
Yep, we're out of roses and into Cuckoo Clock we go. Cuckoo Clock is nice and fun. Very cool tricks in here. Again, this is one of the chapters where May will now start to do some of the heavy lifting, where her ability in this particular chapter gives her a decent amount of advantage over Cody. Cody gets a nice time rewind ability or time fast forward ability. And May gets a clone. May's clone giving her an advantage because it allows, if you place a clone and you land, you can actually jump out of your clone and dash out of your clone. So some of you might be able to guess that gives you pretty crazy options. And one of the major skips in this chapter, Bull Skip, is only performable by May because of the clone.
So unfortunately, Bam fell down there, but what we will be able to see is a backup where May can actually do both force. Oh, LP3. Wow. Well frickin' done. Where because of May's cloning ability, you have to land in that first room to spawn in the 2 dolls that go along the tracks. And then you can use the jump resets that are granted by the cloning to get over that door, head to the other side, and hit the button. But that is extremely difficult to do. So, well done to LP3.
Yes. The backup is very nice. It is definitely, especially doing it that way, which is the fastest way, can be quite difficult because you need like the, I don't want to say it's frame perfect, but it's a very tight, like getting grounded jump out of your clone, which is another thing that you can do. That was a nice little false slide there by LP. But yeah, basically, by jumping, placing your clone, that's a good example of basically the May clone tech and allowing you to cross the gap. Here, we're just taking the dolls along the rails, kind of through the whole clock town. This is another kind of auto-scrollery section where you just kind of have to do every task that the game requires of you. And then wait until each on-rails section, haha, get it, because they're on rails, gets to the point in which you can actually
certainly
progress.
Don't want this to go off the rails. It's been pretty good so far.
Yeah. All things considered, this run has actually been pretty good they've been doing so far.
Well so far. But basically, all they had to do there was they get given their little clock hands and they have to move them to what the Big Ben off in the background says that the clock should be at. It is based off of the host's time of their machine that they're playing on. So It's Bytes actually did find a trick to do with that, where I think if it's after 6:30, you can actually let go of it after interacting with it a little bit, and it will reset to the correct position it's supposed to be in at the end, which is a little interesting.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, coming up here, we're into the next section. This is obviously still part of Gates of Time. is what this is called. And the goal is to get into these towers and disable the shield generators so that we can get to the base of the tower and head on inside and head towards the top.
Okay,
You fly
good
the
landing.
birds around and head
Very
on
nice.
inside.
Okay. So this landing was fast. So this one, after the load, after the cutscene here,
Well, yeah, I'm gonna-
everything is on a global cycle after that point. So they might be able to make the fastest cycle here. Looks like they're both going for it. And okay, yes, because the platform changes, so LP got it as well. But yeah, they got fast cycle, which is really good. So long as they get this section as well, but I think they should be fine. Yes, very nice. So they got fast left tower, save just a couple seconds. You make the quickest cycle possible. Saves a little bit of time. So again, very nice by LP and Bam.
Another example of how the slide jumps are very OP is it allows you to skip sections of the game that would be intended because you have enough momentum and distance that you can clear some of those first platforms there, so you can hit faster cycles.
Okay.
Getting on into
So-
right tower now.
This one, normally you would have to go into another room and find out an order of a set of buttons that you need to push, but the buttons are the same every run, so we just know them by heart and we just push them in the correct order. It is bee, bird, cat, moon, dog, sun, and we're out of here. Nice and quick.
So basically, whoever gets to that first will just hit the bee, other will hit the bird, and then you just rotate counterclockwise. Very nice that that stays the same every time. If that randomized, that would be very annoying. You have to find a skip for that right quick.
Okay. Bam, you're
Bruh.
supposed to aim at the
Bruh.
tower.
What is happening?
Yeah, there we go.
There we
Nice.
go.
Cody just threw to
You know,
the
I was wondering if there was just some desync going on there. What the heck was going on? But no, you got it.
So another
Oh,
thing
nice.
we're
Oh, thought he was gonna
We
get
haven't
a
really-
landing spot.
Another thing we haven't really mentioned about this game is there's quite a few nice, I would say, kind of quality of life things about this game. And this game was very much kind of designed with playing it with someone that hasn't played video games very much for the first time. So there is very heavy auto aim in certain sections like that, where like if that like thing that you're shooting as like basically anywhere on your screen or anywhere near the middle of your screen, you push aim, it's gonna auto lock to it like instantaneously. So watching Bam miss it was like a little like a come on Bam, you can do it. Just aim at the tower, Bam. There you go.
There's another thing too. There's an accessibility setting that you can turn on in this game too that speeds up all the button mashing sections. So it just makes that a lot quicker. Allows for a little bit of time save as well too.
Okay, so now is the time to get your prages out and all the prey emotes out for LP. LP is going to go for bull skip now, which is that May only trick that I mentioned earlier. It is pretty difficult and also very spooky in the sense that if you fall, you're basically just gonna have to RCP and do it all over again. And any time that you spent doing it would be time loss. But LP is well practiced, so I believe in the first try. So pay keen attention to the left side of your screen coming up here right after this reset checkpoint. He's going to be using the clone to basically jump up to areas to which someone like Cody wouldn't be able to reach because of the power differences here. But basically in this section normally you would have to get like a bunch of keys and rotate them, and then eventually would unlock a door, and then you would have to do a whole bullfight. But by using this skip, we skip directly to where a lever is able to pull, and that's another kind of accelerant of checkpoints. So you see LP clip out of bounds, and then now comes the big spooky part. You're gonna have to climb a bunch of little wallflowers that are just in bounds here. You have to get a slide jump off a very small piece of terrain. Very close, good. As long as he gets a clone jump here, should be fine. Very nice. Over to this pillar over here. Very nice again. Now you just have to get to the other second archway over there. So as long as you get like a decent jump over to this flower, you should be fine. This jump can be a little spooky because the wall behind this pillar is not actually a wall. So making sure you clip over. And then now can be the last very spooky bit of this trick. making sure you land on a paper thin wall. Then from here, you have to do a dash jump rather than a double jump to land on invisible terrain, and then you can either ground pound or dash up the wall, and then from there climb up the rest of it. But so far the beginning of this has gone very well, but working a little bit to get this dash jump. I think he's jumping a little bit too early, but other than that, this is going not too bad.
He just needs to spread it out just a little bit more. He's doing very well to get up on that paper thin wall there. He just needs to spread it out a little bit more in order to be able to get May the height that she needs to get back over that.
Yeah.
The face on the right, I know. Bam going into one of the keyholes it's actually a little bit of a strat, because usually if Cody can find a spot, or vice versa, if May can find a spot that not a lot of stuff is on screen being animated, you can save a lot of frames for your partner.
Yeah, so since Cody doesn't really have anything he can do in this section to help May,
there we
very
go.
nice.
LP3.
There's a clone. Should be able to use that to accelerate this process a little bit. Just jumping up the clone, very nice. Lands on a platform. From here, you can get on this platform, and then there's the bull. You'll see it momentarily that we normally would have to fight, but by grabbing this, we accelerate the game by setting another checkpoint, and then by resetting checkpoint, we end up on the bridge behind it.
That's the one.
There you go. That is Bull Skip. Very well done by LP.
And now we head into another section here where all Cody has to do is move the walls back and forth so that May can wall jump up top, bring that lantern down, and then Cody can use his time skills to repair it, boost himself up top. May's going to jump across, place a clone up top so that she can come back, hold the button for Cody to get across, and then clone back up to the top and head to the ascension to fast rooms.
Yeah.
Now, will they go for the safe strat?
Oh, it looks like they tried, just slightly missed it. There is a slightly safer version of that, but now they'll have to end up doing this elevator fight. This elevator fight can be a little spooky because these hands will one-shot you, and if you do die, both players do die, it's just like right back down to the bottom of the elevator. So
does it take you all the way back to the bottom?
All the way back to the bottom. You really do not want to die in this boss fight.
Oh boy. So basically, normally what can happen in this section is that as long as one person, and you can do it with both as well, the checkpoint for getting inside that is at the door, and it extends out to infinity on either side. And so all you really need to do is, if both people cross that threshold and either land back on the platform outside, or if you have one person inside and one person outside, the doors will begin to close. And if you have somebody, one or both, on that platform outside the doors, then the clock just raises up and you guys can just stand there and do nothing, because the game thinks you're inside of it, but really you're out on the platform.
Yeah. We're nearing the top of the elevator here. Also, I find it very funny that LP is just not into gaming right now, and it's just making Bam do everything, so...
You know, you gotta have a Cody carry every now and again. I bet you LP3's getting a drink of water right now, or a coffee, one of the two.
Yeah, he's back now. Ready to game. One of the opportune P breaks of the run. Okay, so here there is a fastest cycle that you can make. It is relatively tight, and you have to have near perfect platforming the whole time. This is gonna be very close if they get it.
What the heck?
I'm not too sure if they even go for... Yeah,
they're either going
slow
for
now.
a slower version of it, or they're just going for the cycle
God,
after it, which it looks like they're just going for one cycle after it. Yeah, that's what they're going for.
Fast cycle ropes is quite difficult.
This is another section similar to the tornadoes where the state of the room is the same after the reset checkpoint every time. So if you know you mess it up early, you can reset from checkpoint again and get the ropes to be in the same positions. But you can get it such that where you get to the end, that last swinging bar is in position for you to grab onto it and swing you over to the left, like at the earliest point possible. So it's the fastest cycle that you can get through there. So really, when you think about it, these guys did kind of get too simple.
Yeah, they were just running into like the wall as we're going.
If anybody's got that on their bingo card.
If you want to... so this may look like a boss fight, because there's a giant bird breaking the glass and everything, but this section is literally AFK-able. both players die in this section, and nothing will happen. You'll just progress to the next section of the game. It is not long enough for a pee break. Don't take a pee break here. People have made that mistake before, and even if you're told that, some people will still make that mistake. I think me and Jan made that mistake one time. We lost a little bit of time to this, but yeah, this section, for some reason, even though it looks like it's going to be a boss fight, I don't think the game was programmed in a way that, like, if both players die, there's like that respawn timer that you've occasionally seen, like say in that clock tower before. You just die and immediately respawn. So there's no issue.
Now we're going to be coming up where these platforms will just create a path for us to get closer to the heart of the clock here. And again, this section's still fairly mostly just auto-scroller. There's not a lot crazy that's happening here. You just head onto the platforms here and you'll have to dodge a few swinging chimes as the clock realizes we're getting close and wants to stop us from achieving our goal. So May can either do some clones to avoid them, or you can literally just stand. Wait, is that it? Okay, I was about to say, does Bam have a safe spot that we don't know about because of the way the chimes swing? But yeah, all this is just avoiding it. And again, this is one of those sections where only one person has to live through. If both people die, you will start right back at the beginning of the chimes swinging back and forth, which can be some unfortunate time loss.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it would kind of suck if that were to happen, but so far, clean. It's not super hard to avoid. I would say that, like, not a lot of this game is, like, extremely difficult. It's just, it's one of those things that if you kind of, like, let your mind wander and you're not paying full attention, you can definitely die. So paying at least a little bit of attention to what's going on is quite important. So here, they just fall down to the bottom. Nothing crazy, so long as you don't die. It is the same speed every time, and if you're bottom left corner, you'll be fine all the way down.
So I mean, yeah, if Ticker, if you have anything you'd like to add, like, feel free. We've got probably about 20 seconds here.
Got nothing to add. No donations have come through.
No worries
Chat,
at
you're
all.
slacking. Did you know that if you go to exclamation point donations,
I practiced it a lot when we were doing the 1v1 tournament.
you can donate to,
Because that was
oh my god,
our
donate.
warm-up.
Oh,
Don't mind us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, go to donate.
Yeah, I guess you got
Donate to one of
last.
these lovely charities, and you can have Ticker read out your silly message on the stream.
Some people
I would
are
highly
really good at
recommend
that,
it.
especially with the new one.
But yeah, so now we enter back into some actual gameplay. This section, basically, you just have to blow up all the clock faces, and so long as you know where your partner is going to be going, it is not that hectic at all. But yeah, so just running around, placing some stuff down, you'll be good to go.
Chop up, get down. On often cases, sometimes runners can get their wires crossed there, which is not terrible. It's only a little bit of time loss. Again, you don't want to die there, as it's one of those ones where it'll reset you if you both end up getting crushed by the bombs. This here, Glint's favorite sound effect in the entire game. If you have those high fidelity headphones.
Yeah, you can hear the beauty of that explosion sound effect. It is amazing.
VR presidential edition.
You can skip a big portion of this platforming here as advantaged by, again, grabbing different checkpoints and things, where if May grabs high enough up on that board that she just jumped against and Cody moves the timer over, May will respawn with a death warp on the top of it, which basically brings you like all the way to the end of this platforming section. And then Cody just brings that next platform over, slams the bar all the way to the right, and May can jump off, land in front of the clock, and trigger onto our last kind of on the rails section of this game. You basically just have to run to the end, grab onto a rail, and clock is finished.
It doesn't really waste that much time.
Yeah.
Take
Also
this, clock!
Jump dash into the right.
No, yeah, this Cuckoo Clock is now nearly done, and we're going to be heading into Snow Globe, which is a very fun subchapter, in my opinion. It's got some of the most annoying tricks in the game, where they're not even annoying, but just fairly typical tricks in the game, so it's very fun to see done fast as well.
Pretty sure it's faster, not double.
Snow Globe is one of the first few chapters of the game that Glint and I ran together and spent many an hour running, and we used to have the IL record way back in the day, back when it was a 13:39. Now I think the world record is 10:20 right now.
Yeah, 10:20. I got a
It's
PB
me,
yesterday. Actually, got
and it's him to
1026. So
Yeah, that was
very cool.
huge.
So
Coming
this
up here- oh, go for it. Go
yeah,
for it.
this first jump can definitely be a little monka W for sure. You have to get on this tree,
Oh my god.
and you're gonna do some like literally to the name precision platforming to get up onto this invisible ledge and then climb up all the way to the top, and basically landing on some invisible terrain to basically cut this entire stage, like from beginning to end, basically, since the end of the level is just over here. You have to make it around to some terrain. Nearly landed in the soft spot, which would have been very unfortunate, but pull it out safely. Yeah, so now you just get to the end of the level, and that'll be the first subchapter done.
There's a little bit of movement tech that you can do with the skating, where if you go dash and jump very fast, or pardon me, jump and then dash very fast, you can boost your speed a little bit, or if you already have quite a bit of speed, you can maintain it fairly efficiently.
It takes two.
But as far as the skating goes, there's nothing really too crazy you can do. And now we head on to Winter Village. So Winter Village is another one that we've definitely managed to dissect quite a bit and skip a lot. And typically what would happen in Winter Village is you'd be traveling through, trying to break the ice off of all of the clock towers, because this village has been frozen in time, quite like May and Cody's love, unfortunately. And this village is actually modeled after a place that they went on vacation once upon a time, early on in their relationship. Or was it their honeymoon? I can't remember. I know they were here at one point during their relationship.
Yeah, I think it was just like relationship stuff, you know, close enough.
Good old lore. If you want to talk about the jump over the house here, go.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So basically, again, like Ian was saying, normally what you would do here is you would ring a bunch of bells, but by going out of bounds and basically going into a bunch of different places, you can basically skip the entirety of this stage. So basically, the jump over the house lets you to get out of bounds here. A couple variations of that, but the most important thing here is about what we're to see LP do. He just hit the trigger, but there is a trigger that starts the basically progresses the game to a point where this next section can actually be activated, since there is a section of bobsleds coming up here, which you would which you can kind of like stand and grab, and then from there make some progress. But if you were not to hit that trigger, then you would have to actually, I guess you just wouldn't be able to do anything. You'd just be stuck here. But
you know, the end of this subchapter is when the bobsleds shoot you out the end of a tunnel, and so basically the name of the game is just get to the bobsleds as fast as you can. We're gonna see LP3 go on getting in the festive spirit, went and got himself a hat, and then came back to the bobsleds. And yeah, you can get to the base of the floor there, and you can clip through the floor to get back up in bounds there, and then finish off that section of Winter Village by grabbing onto the bobsleds. The bobsleds are very auto-scroller. There is one piece of tech that we've apparently found saves 3 seconds, where LP3 looks like he's going to go for it. If you can ram yourself back and forth enough times on this section to get out of bounds, oh, very close. You can get out of bounds on that section where the bobsled will shoot out, and it will cause the other person.
Oh, you almost got it at the end. That was kind of funny.
Oh, wait, did we get this thing? Wait.
If you can get out of bounds, it causes the last tunnel section of the bobsleds, for whatever reason, for Cody to go very fast as opposed to normal. I think it's just because there's no other person needing to catch up, so the game just goes, okay, you're there, go.
Yeah, I think I have like a small theory about why it would work. This section has like a rubber banding mechanic that if like the player behind one other player is just like super far behind, it'll kind of like rubber band you, kind of like Mario Kart style, up to the second player. And even though this section just looks like we're going downhill the whole time, we're actually kind of like looping around in circles a little bit. So I think it might be an instance where when you get in the last tunnel, it actually places you behind May, and the game's like, oh, Cody's behind May, let's catch Cody up to May, and it causes you to accelerate through this last tunnel a little bit.
Okay.
Is kind of my running theory about why this works. But yeah, I think it has something to do with the rubber banding. But it is
That's
very
just
weird.
a
And
theory.
a
game theory.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, here comes BTI, where all good snow globe runs go to die. There are a couple different tricks here. LP is going to be going for a proxy here. So if you pay close attention to LP's half of the screen here, he might just randomly launch into the sky. There you go. I think this actually might be high enough to get it, which is very hype. Nice, he got the proxy.
I don't know what's
And
going
then-
on. I think Bam here is trying to get out of the water here at the very beginning. Having a little bit of trouble here. I think it might just... There we
Should be
go.
fine.
Well
Yeah,
done.
yeah. That's one of those things that, like, if you don't get your normal setup from the right at the beginning, backing it up can be really awkward because having your dashes spaced properly can be very painful. But so Bam's gonna go for the most dreaded trick in this run. We call it Bti Wall Climb. There is a sliver of terrain where you can get a jump reset on this wall, and it is very finicky. Even our top runners aren't like 100% consistent at this, and it is a place where a lot of runs can go to die, even full game ILs. Bam! Very nice, got it.
Let's go.
Well done.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the next fastest strat to that is like 40 seconds slower, so you still have quite an opportunity to just like do it over and over and over again. And still end up saving time, but it's gotten to the point where you definitely want to at least get it within like your first 2 or 3 tries, or it's going to start losing you time. So here they're setting up for a nice little trick of checkpoints here,
Also,
where basically the gimmick of this subchapter is there's 3 pipes that we have to fill with peppermint candy, as I like to call it, because it kind of looks what it looks like. But by Cody finishing his, and then skipping the cutscene, and then May finishing hers, you can set your checkpoint inside of this little home here, and then you are right before the 3rd one.
And now we head into the Lenny section of this, which is, oh man, everybody hates Lenny. Lenny is our friendly neighborhood angler fish, or friendly might not be the right term I'd use for him, but essentially all we need to do here is head on in down here, grab this wrench, and use it to seal the gaps in the candy line to get the last final candy cane liquid goodness heading towards the factory so we can power up the lighthouse and head towards the end of the level. So if you end up in Lenny's little light there, he will aggro onto you and try and attack you, and if you die, it's pretty significant. It can be a little bit spooky, and unfortunately now Lenny is just going to be lurking right around them at all times, but Bam doing a very good job of dodging around. LP3 did too, and they've still managed to get the wrench onto the breach, which is very good. There's a bit of an interesting tech with this chapter too, where once you get the 2 wrenches on and you get the 3rd one on, well, this will be good because we'll be able to get around to the left of him. Perfect. When you put the last wrench on, it will trigger, obviously you get a sound trigger when the wrench is actually properly fitted and seated and ready to be spun to the right. As soon as the wrench hits and you hear that, you can reset from checkpoint, and then you can just head on back to the end of the level and bring you back to the start, where all of the candy cane goodness has been routed to the factory. You can turn the dial and head to the top of the lighthouse.
Yep. It is a bit unfortunate where we have found a way. So this lighthouse is actually just in the middle of Beneath the Ice, or BTI. And we have found ways of getting to the top of this lighthouse without doing all this other stuff. However, the issue is, since we actually haven't progressed the game's checkpoints far enough, if you do it, the game just like clips you through the ground and you don't actually progress to the next stage. So that's like a keen example of, like, there are times that we have found ways, and there's plenty of places where we found ways of getting to the end of a stage very quickly. However, since there is no way, since the checkpoints haven't been progressed enough, we actually can't end the level. And then, yeah. now we make our way into Slippery Slopes.
Slippery Slopes is by far my favorite subchapter of the game. There's so many different ways that you can go down it, and it's basically just a toboggan pace down the hill of how fast can you go. And what it likes to use here is it uses the sliding mechanic in this game, where if you're heading downhill and you hold crouch, you'll end up going into a slide. And in this section, once you start doing the slides, you can carry so much of your momentum by jumping, where if you keep jumping as you're sliding, although it looks like they're just electing to dash down the mountain here to be on the safer side, which is very fair, as there is a lot of different soft blocks and you can potentially launch off to the left to go inbounds, but there they go. Now they're going to head into the slide section, where if you jump right after you've landed while still in the sliding animation, you will carry a lot of momentum and continue even going faster down the mountain. And you can do it to clear some of the bigger gaps, which looks like Bam's going to be going for here.
Nice.
Very nicely done.
Both hitting ACS, very good. Yeah, so you
Good
can
old
cross that,
ACS.
cross the chasm. Aliens chasm skip. And we make our way to the right here, and basically there's going to be a checkpoint that we can hit that's like on a invisible plane down here. Just got to dash. There is a way to accelerate this just a little bit by getting ice skates here, which Bam just got on the right hand side of your screen, and LP as well. You might fall much faster with ice skates, but
Every time. I understand.
How was it found, extension? Just by sheer willpower and determination.
so the place where they got that trigger actually is actually where the load is normally. So there is a way to actually load the terrain there. And if you saw what the terrain was, it's actually literally where they just spawned, like right in front of the cabin. So you just you fall down and land basically exactly where that was, and you can get a checkpoint and progress from there.
I'll let you talk about your namesake here.
Yay! Skip. So I found, well, actually they went for both versions and failed both versions. So I came up with a skip early on in this game, and everyone hated it. So I came up with a skip for my own skip. So we have Glenn Skip in the run now. But basically, it's literally just a corner cut, nothing special. You can just cut a couple corners in here due to the way the ice is falling to save a little bit of time. LP is waiting here because there's actually going to be a death warp that he can do as soon as Bam kind of activates this checkpoint right here. You can die and kind of spawn like basically right behind Bam. And it is faster than him trying to catch up.
And the name of the game here is just grab onto all of our magnet flags to ascend all the way to the top, and kablamo, head into the ice area that's beneath the cabin at the end of the level, the cabin from the lore where, as Bites and an extension confirmed, that Cody proposed to May. So a very important piece of the lore in this game, this part of the game I should say, that we're seeing here.
So yeah, so this is this has, ooh, LP almost got it. That was very tight. So this is where another one of these power mechanic comes up. So we have these two magnets that allow the characters to jump to each other. Oh, nice oyster by LP, flying across the gap.
Let's go.
This is the biggest instance of the magnet hopping thing that you'll see actually in this particular version. Normally you would see it a little bit more a bit earlier, but LP just got like a massive oyster across the gap. But basically, if one character is airborne, the other player can magnet to them, and as soon as you attach, let go, and then you'll have your jump and your dash, and you can just like basically kind of daisy chain those together to cross larger gaps, or in the case that we just saw, get a little extra height to get out of bounds.
Once upon a time, there was an old strat where you had to ascend this old ski hill as all the wind is blowing down at you, and you used to be able to do the Unga Bunga tech, where you would do the magnet hopping, but on the ground, so you would end up, because when you jump off of somebody, you go further forward than them, and you were able to combat the wind blowing you back down the mountain by just continuously chaining the magnets together and then trying to mash dash to like scramble up the mountain and get into some safe spots so the wind couldn't blow you down.
And we're out of Snow Globe and into Garden. This first subchapter is very spooky. There's a couple different versions of this skip. I think they should be going for Burrow Skip. As the name implies, it is a skip to Burrow Skip. But basically by getting every checkpoint in the area, they're basically allowed to just go all the way to the end. This first jump can be very annoying. We can talk about the mechanic that this is using. It's called a Snuggle Slide. So normally when you're airborne, besides like a frog jump, if you were ever to push crouch, you would instantly ground pound, which isn't really optimal in the sense that like what we're trying to do is land and instantly slide jump. So the thing that they're doing instead is they're holding crouch beforehand. And they're kind of jumping backwards and then dashing forwards to slide on a piece of terrain and then get a slide jump out of that. Because slide jump, like we mentioned before, do give you a little bit extra height. And from here, they can use that to get out of bounds like right at the beginning of the stage. And that's what you saw Bam and LP do. Now they're just basically running around getting all the remaining checkpoints. LP just needs to find his way out of this bush. This particular version of the skip can be a bit spooky because there is a lot of terrain that you can get stuck on and a lot of holes that you can fall in that are basically soft locks causing you to have to RCP. Looks like they're going for the old way up the wall here. This wall jump is a bit difficult, but there you go. Bam got it. LP got it. First try, like a real gamer.
Interesting that Bam didn't get his dash input there when jumping from that first one. I feel like there's a few weird spots where the wall can be a little bit finicky and it can either eat some of your inputs or try and spit you out. But essentially, you just want to try and jump, dash, and land in some of these cracks here to get onto the top of the wall. There's a few different ways to go about it, but essentially this whole section is just a checkpoint hunt where you go through and you have to gather up the checkpoints such that, again, once you get to the end of the level and you scythe out the corruption bulb, that you're able to actually trigger the end of the level and go ahead because the game's going to check and be like, did you guys go to all the intended areas? And yes, we did, game. We just did it in a not so intended way.
I was tempted to go in the pod.
So normally with Burrower Skip, there's a place off to the right there where there's a little creature named Burrower that you would have to then trigger his battle, and then you can jump out of bounds and head over and scythe this bad boy. But with Burrower Skip, you stay to the left, stay out of it, and you head all the way to the end. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were going to say something.
Can definitely be a lot.
No, I was basically saying that they just got the last checkpoint and now they're good to go and finish off the chapter. So now we're into weed whacking. This is a pretty cool little trick. For some reason, the way the terrain interacts here, when you wall jump off of it, it gives you an absolute ton of speed. And we can use that speed to basically get onto some invisible terrain. LP out here gaming, same with Bam.
If Clint doesn't mention that, oh my god.
So this chapter,
for answering Extension's question there, we were a little distracted.
Yeah, so basically, the thing with this subchapter is it's another instance of Cody sucks and May is way better because May has a scythe, and for some reason scythes just let you climb up walls. So if the terrain is ever so slanted, like at all, May can use her scythe to actually scythe up walls and kind of just gain a bit of height every time. Unfortunately, Cody does not have the same ability. He is stuck with a silly plant, and that's all he can do. So May is way better.
We love Cody's little plant. If not for Cody's plant, how would you be able to grab those sky boys, huh? Tell me that.
May is the real carry, though.
Smoge. All the Cody mains will rise up. Mark my words.
True. So the thing about this is like it's pretty like it's kind of unfortunate where May definitely gets like the kind of cooler abilities in the run, but Cody definitely still has some like cool stuff that he can do throughout the run, which is pretty nice. Bam, making a cool jump, but jumped a little too early, so hit a death plane. Still should be fine though.
That would have been so.
So here it's going to be another instance of a couple oysters that they're going to have to go for.
Because I had practiced getting out.
LP3 able to use the scythe to get up the wall there. Now he has to try and get across, use the momentum of an oyster in order to get through.
Oops.
It's a very finicky jump. I remember Glint did create a lineup for it to make it a little bit easier, but LP3 very good to get through there. And Bam is hard charging from behind here.
Nice.
But he got the checkpoint.
They didn't actually have to RCP there. The fastest way of doing that is if both players actually get there, you just do the fight. And not RCP.
Okay.
Yeah, you can save like, because you think about it, the animation of all the blobs coming out of the ground, you can save that time basically, so it's like maybe like a second faster or something. Save just a fraction. They could have gone for it since both of them were there, but a lot of the time May will be significantly faster here due to her scythe, allowing her to climb walls, but in that case it could have saved a little bit of time.
Basically, the name of the game here at the start of the weed whacking fight section is just to have Cody grab those guys down from the sky as soon as he can, as fast as he can. Unfortunately, if they do have one of the smaller little whirligig boys below him, if he lands on top of one of them, they will just bounce back up, so you do have to be careful when he is pulling them down to make sure that he doesn't have one below. But 9 times out of 10, if you get them back to back to back to back, they'll usually be pretty clear of ads below them, and you can just pull them down, make and scythe them into eternity, and then you just keep on going forward. But very clean weed whacking, all things considered.
Very good. Oh, the pause strat? Definitely did not mean to pause there. I think just a fat finger. But now comes a very, very spooky subchapter. So this is Trespassing. My favorite subchapter in the game, just because May gets to go very fast. But this particular subchapter is spooky because casually, the mechanic is that you're basically trying to sneak past a bunch of moles. But we go out of bounds basically right at the start here. And from the oob, we still have to interact with that mechanic, but then we have to try to go as quickly as possible. Now, the mole section is definitely spooky, but I would say the thing that's more spooky about it compared to like dealing with the like noise meter and everything is the fact that if you die, you spawn at the start of this stage. And you have to do the whole thing all over again. So the mole meter can be scary, but once you kind of like get muscle memory for the way you go through it, it's not that bad. The thing that's scary is that if you ever end up dying here, you literally lose like 40 seconds depending on where you die.
So the most optimal way to get through this is May has a few of those scythe spots that we talked about where she can use it to skip certain sections and gain access to quicker lines through the ending of Trespassing. So the most optimal way to do this is to have May go first and have the Cody trail behind. Ooh, didn't get enough of the momentum on the slide jump there. Very good to go back and try it again. There we go. That'll do it.
That ledge is really weird where you actually have to slide jump earlier than like right near the edge of the platform because for some reason it just won't give you a slide jump. If not, it'll give you one of those like weird slide jump thingies.
Indeed. So now that May is through, May is no longer in the area that will trigger the noise meter for the moles, but Cody still is. So Cody's just going to go through making sure that he's careful and delicate, but still getting to the end so that he doesn't trigger the mole meter and end the level. In a bad way, I mean like die and have to go start it back at the beginning. But then also if something were to happen to LP3 here and one of the strats goes awry and he falls, then Cody is still there.
Mole butt.
Yeah, mole butt. Look at this guy. He's vibing. He's jiggling. Yeah, Bam knows. Bam knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, LP3 doing very well there to hit the scythe strats to get up that wall and head to the very ending section here of Trespassing. The other weird thing that can happen if Cody dies along the way. Oh my god, what did you just post in chat?
It's butt.
It's butt. But if Cody falls down at some point as we head through this, it can cause some very weird camera glitches with May near the end here, where May won't be able to see where they're going, which can be a little bit spooky. But if you have the muscle memory, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it still can cause some weird things with directional inputs and potentially cause May to get stuck against a wall.
Exactly. Well, this is a really clean ending to Trespassing. Overall, this is a very, very clean Trespassing. Probably like a mid to high 40.
Cody can be as delicate as a flower. By the way, hello, Bites. Quick shout out to another one of our ITT runners in chat. It's Bites and Who is Hyper. We're going to be running this game at AGDQ.
Yeah, very cool. This is I hope Bam asked for permission before touching the mole like that. That's a little messed up if he didn't.
And then another one.
Oh, the poor mole.
Oh boy. I always forget that this trick is in the game, but if you have never seen this trick for the first time, it is very funny, so prepare for this. because frogs can fly.
Oh,
Come on, LP, up the wall. Let's go.
LP, come on. Oh.
So close. But yes, due to interesting terrain,
Oh my god.
frog can do zoom up wall, basically.
So all they're aiming for is they're actually aiming for an invisible barrier here. And they wiggle back and forth interacting with it to launch them up the tree so that they can land on some invisible walls and barriers out of bounds. So yeah, the frogs just kind of stick their legs out and shimmy back and forth and they fly.
Very nice. Oh no, LP, you went too far left. This is savable. Nice.
Dude,
Oh
that's
my,
save.
that frog was damn near upside down. Are you kidding me?
And sticky legs, sticky legs.
I've never even seen that backup before. That's crazy.
I've never seen it, but
It's
I've been told of that backup. So,
Dude, that's awesome.
okay, another minigame warp here. We go pick snail race, and then we do a quick RCP to get progressed a little bit further than the snail race checkpoint itself.
Nah, I forgot to race our checkpoint.
My surf strat though. Oh, bites. Yeah, so now all you gotta do here is water the ground so Cody can turn into the mushroom. May is gonna use the charge bounce off of the mushroom to get up top and start filling up some of these real thirsty flowers so that Cody can start ascending up to the top. If you want to, there's a fancy tricky way that you can do a slide, jump, dash and just only have to do one of them, but it is very difficult. You gotta watch out for the soft lock there. You did very well to expertly avoid it. Once upon a time, I managed to soft block on that ledge.
Yeah.
And there was an immortal clip made by Alien God that will forever live in the art section of of our Discord.
Okay, and then yeah, so here we're actually going to be entering
I did get it.
the Joy boss fight. If there is any glitch hunters in chat that want $200, I think, or 175 or something like that, there is a bounty on finding a skip to this boss fight. Please find it. Everyone hates Joy. It's like 6 minutes of just like auto scroller ickiness, and there is currently no way of accelerating the process at all. And oh, that was almost a one cycle. That was so nice by LP.
That man should have died. By all rights, that man was dead. Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things where we found some optimal ways to get through Joy, but man, if we had a way to save like an extra 6 minutes off of Joy, that would be so nice.
Yeah, it would destroy that. It would also make an otherwise very cool chapter in Garden much funner to run, because basically right now it is very unfortunate because the run is very cool and then you get to Joy and then it's just 6 minutes of wanting to die a little bit inside. Something that we haven't really talked about yet, but we've been seeing a lot of, is actually you can accelerate May's attack speed in this particular area by dashing in between every attack. You'll see it when LP attacks this blob on the left-hand side here. Basically, this is another skip as well, where they actually just skip the first infected thing like this by doing a jump up to the ladder. And then now we see them break both of these simultaneously to have the cutscenes play over top of each other to save a little bit of time.
Go for the gamer.
Indeed. And that's obviously the whole lore of this section in a nutshell, is that because of the different things that have been going on with May and Cody, one of Cody's passions has always been his gardening, but unfortunately he's let that lapse as he's been more of the stay-at-home dad, and so he's had a lot of responsibilities with looking after Rose. And so his garden has, which was his pride and joy, has now been overrun by the affliction.
Well, I think lore-wise, it's actually just May didn't encourage his gardening, so he just didn't want to do it anymore.
Oh, is that? Okay.
Yeah, it's this is the whole thing behind both of the subchapters is so basically, since we can have a lore conversation now, since we have 6 minutes of nothing. The lore of the last couple chapters, Cuckoo Clock, I actually have no idea what the lore about is. That Snow Globe is the beginning of the reconnection of May and Cody. So basically, they are trying to reignite their passion so they might be able to reconnect and fix the relationship. So like Ian mentioned, Cody's passion is gardening, so they are currently in their garden and trying to get rid of the infestation that has taken over it. Joy being one of the flowers that Cody really liked and was taking good care of, but has now become infected. So you have to clear the infection away and progress from there. And the next subchapter, being Attic, will explore May's passion, which was singing and doing musical stuff. But May's passion sucks, so we go through that chapter really quick.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
so,
Yeah, we obliterate that otherwise beautiful chapter. There's so much great cinematography and music in that chapter, and we just burn it down to like 6.5 minutes.
yeah, if you thought minigame warps were bad already, you have not seen the beginning of it. We actually managed to skip two, like we don't even play two subchapters in Attic because it kind of interacts where there's a hub world. We can kind of explain this a little bit beforehand since it can be a little, it happens like literally within the span of like less than a minute, so quickly explaining it now is probably a good idea. But basically there's a little hub world that has like a bunch of mini games in it, and there's certain mini games that you should not be able to access unless you've done other subchapters in the game. But obviously, since we're gamers and we can do cool gamer stuff, we gamer to those mini games, and from there we basically unlock the third subchapter, or I believe the fourth subchapter in the game from first subchapter. So we can basically go from first subchapter to fourth, and then we just have to do the fourth and fifth, and then we are done Attic. And it turns a otherwise very long chapter into literally like 6 to 7 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah, that first mini game warp where you go towards musical chairs is absolutely busting. We don't get symphony, and we don't get, I think it's because there's turn up. Is there rehearsal? That's the other one. I was gonna call it tuning up because there's like turn up, but
yeah, turning up is the one that we go to. So basically, we minigame warp to musical chairs, and from musical chairs we do another minigame warp to a game called Track Runner, and from there we can immediately access turn up. So skipping 2 subchapters in the game. Yeah, since this is literally basically an auto scroller, the only thing that's like the thing you can do to accelerate some of this is make sure you kill all the plants as fast as you can, and then there's a couple reset checkpoints during cutscenes to skip the cutscenes a little bit faster. But yeah, I don't know. This section
here where they jump on the plates is literal complete auto scroller. So I mean, Ticker, it's been a while. If there's anything you'd like to add, feel free to come chat with us for a bit.
Oh, Ticker!
Oh, Ticker! You sleep.
You know what?
You sleep.
There we go.
Welcome back.
Yeah, just a reminder that you can donate. And that's about it. Go ! Donate, and you can donate to charities, the Trevor Project, Save the Children, and 350.org.
What do you think of the run so far, Ticker?
I've seen a few runs before, but it's an interesting run.
To be fair, the Cody one is funnier in my opinion.
Yeah,
It is interesting. I will say, if anyone wants to make a donation, apparently there is a current lawsuit going on between Take-Two and It Takes Two, where Take-Two's like, no, that is our name. So if you have, and anyone has any interesting alternate name ideas for It Takes Two, please donate with your name ideas, and potentially we will start referring to the game as that.
That's actually so unfortunate and tragic that that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I have a suggestion. Just invert the name. Two Takes It.
Two Takes It. Two Takes It is pretty good. I enjoy Two Takes It. TTI.
To task ting to taunt to trigger ting trigger just time once to tongue yes. Number 15.
Very nice. Okay. So again, literally this boss fight. To actually explain it a little bit, there is a phase where there's these plants, and Cody gets turned into various vegetables and legumes, And you just need to bash his little lime self or potato self, or I mean, whatever, the tomato self. That's the other one. But basically, you bash yourself into the plants, then it gives you a phase that lets you like kind of go. Cody goes into joy, and then like exposes one of the corruptions. Make and cut it up, and do the thing, and then we're all good to go.
To note here, though, that with this one, you do not reset from checkpoint. I've done that a few times. If you reset from checkpoint when you kill that last one, which obviously you do it with the first two, it will put you back to the beginning of that lime phase where you have to fight all of the little corruption boys again, unfortunately. Yeah, they've made it through Garden, and again, up to this point, it's been very clean so far, and we're heading into the final chapter of our game in Attic.
So again, action-packed from the beginning. From the start here, they're going to be making their way to the first minigame. So by jump dashing and then saving their jumps in a particular way, they can get up here to musical chairs. From here, they can warp to musical chairs, and from musical chairs, they're going to be able to do some more platforming over to Track Runner.
For some reason, I'm really good at that.
Yes, indeed. I think RTA for PB pace for them. Like I feel like just looking at how this has gone so far, it should still be a PB pace for these guys. Because I think their PB is 156 in game time because there's a load remover for this game. But yeah, the other thing that's nice that comes from spawning in musical chairs is that it activates all these lights and the ability to be able to interact with them, I believe. So that's unfortunate for Bam.
Oh my god.
It allows us to be able to walk across these lights because the power cords are here, so that we're able to get across all of these lights up top and use it to get across a massive invisible barrier. So LP3 is going to be attempting to get a slide jump here to get some momentum. Okay. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, this is actually, yeah, they thought of the thing that was right to there, which is to minigame warp back to musical chairs and then just redo this entirely. Yeah, this is a very unfortunate because this jump is like super finicky and can be very punishing, so completely understandable.
No, there's a lot of weird collisions that can happen as you're heading across those electrical cords because, again, they're all angled each whichever way. And, again, as we know in this game, literally everything has collisions.
Yeah, over the invisible wall, you'll see another minigame banner there, Track Runner. And then after warping to Track Runner, they can dash backwards into this little tunnel and then head into the nightclub.
And this is, again, how we skip those few things, because the nightclub here is the entrance to Turn Up, which is the second last subchapter of the game. And we're going to get a few different references here as we head into here. Some of you may recognize what they're about to slide down here and think, I've seen this before.
I've never seen this before ever in my life. I don't know what you're talking about.
Such original programming. Like, I have no idea how they came up with this. Oh, LP3 getting a little bit too much momentum there, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm so far right.
But he does have the reset, which is good. So what they wanted to do there is you can clip through the wall there to head down to the next section of the Rainbow Road run here. And again, this is very similar to Slippery Slopes, where if you jump immediately after hitting the ground while you're in the slide, you'll keep a lot of the momentum. So once you hit one of the boost pads, if you keep on jumping, you'll keep your momentum. Then you just got to monk steer your way through to the very end of this course here. Nothing too crazy. It's just that first wall clip that you can get through, but then once you get to the very end, if you're May getting there first, that's okay, because your power will activate a door and allow you to slide past it and carry some of your momentum. But if you're Cody, you have to do a little bit of a momentum boost off of a rail that'll come up on the left-hand side. You can use it to clear a wall and gather some checkpoints to, again, reset from checkpoint and move yourself further along in the level.
There's a way to quickly yeet over the door too, if you're lucky, but again, straight up here, this isn't a problem because again, the RCP catches up Cody. And then now they're going for disco ball skip. There is a very small gap in death planes there that will let you kind of like fall here. And then from here, we can slide jump off and jump dash and basically fall for a very long period of time to right near where that little tip of the platform is down there. And then there'll be a death warp that will just put them right next to it. And yeah, basically it'll let you like warp up, quickly go to the end of this sub-chapter. Then they'll have to play a little bit of DDR, and then on to grand finale.
Oh, this section has always been my favorite. You'll always find me bopping. We'll forever running this. You did. Except I've been told by Big Man you want to make sure that you never actually hum the tune to yourself, because he's had that happen a few times with AJ where somebody starts singing the tune to the DDR game. It can be off sync because of like desync, Discord, and everything like that.
No jamming allowed unless you mute your microphone.
So this is going to be another example of an FPS strat. We never did get a chance to talk about that at the very beginning of the game, way back in Shed, where when they went to fight the vacuum boss, they turned their FPS down to 30 because it allows mashes to go a fair bit faster, like excessively faster, because the game thinks you're doing more inputs in less amount of time. So by changing the game down to 30 FPS in this section, what it allows them to do is interact with some of these little mini games before they go into the DDR much faster and allow them to complete them a lot quicker. And I believe it also makes it so that you have to do less DDR as well too, or is it just the mini games?
I think it just accelerates the process at which some of the mini games happen.
Is it desync or just
yeah.
DDR at the end of the game. This is just Simpsons game reskin.
Fuck you, Pika.
Oh,
so
bacon.
basically, since this is like pretty self-explanatory, I'm just going to use this time to quickly explain the last sub-chapter of this game, because it happens very quickly.
What?
But basically, the last section of the game is meant to be kind of like an auto walker almost, where you kind of just like walk forward and kind of interact with some stuff. It's kind of like meant to be really like emotional and everything like that, but that's slow, so we're not going to do that at all. So basically how this works is since the
You're paused.
since the way this game works is that when you spawn into a stage, you actually don't spawn in on the ground. You spawn in slightly higher than the ground. And we've mentioned it a little bit before, but there's a mechanic called a time dash in this game, where either after a dash or landing on the ground, if you push the dash, you'll actually get a dash with a little faster boost. And what can actually happen is if you timed properly, you can just chain these plus other movement mechanics to just zoom through the last little bit of this stage and take a stage that would take minutes otherwise into literal like seconds of gameplay. So hopefully we can see a clean execution of grand finale after this auto scroller section here. Again, as aptly said last time, LP and Bam ran this in a marathon. The only thing you can do here to accelerate this is don't hit walls. And even though it might look like LP is hitting them, it's usually just due to desync. The desync in this section can be really bad and cause walls to look like they're being hit all the time.
I'm interested to see which way they go about this too, because there is two ways that you can tackle grand finale. You can either have May do the whole thing from start to finish, which is significantly faster, but there is also a section where you can activate Cody to start moving, because he has to go and hit like a switch so that he can open the way for May to continue walking.
I think they go for the.
I believe that Bam does this section. Last time I watched them do this, LP3 activated it for Bam, but we'll see if LP3 has been practicing and goes for it.
That's nothing.
Okay. Let's see here. So yeah, pay attention closely. You might be able to see it on the left hand of your screen. Sometimes it breaks from the Cody perspective. Okay, we can see it.
I know.
So yeah, I think he might just be going for the activate.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
All you have to do here then, if you're on the Cody side, is once it activates, you spam your frog jump, which is the dash and jump input at the same time. And as we can see, Cody's just kind of vibing, doing his thing off in the distance. And all he has to do is clear the railing here. Very well done. Get inside this piece of scaffolding. Drop down.
This is fine. So you can see this is the normal walking speed you would have to move at, what Bam is moving at right now. But he has a chance to accelerate this again by falling off the tip here. It can accelerate the rest of this movement here.
Yep.
Through the gap, grab the curtain.
And
hold,
whoop,
cut
it's
some
actually
skip.
made there.
Yep. Also,
That's
that
a PB.
hold.
I forgot to
What
hold
is
track.
this camera angle?
Oh,
Is
have
this
you
what
not
happens
seen
when
this before?
I've
Yeah,
not
this
seen
is what
that.
happens when Cody does this. So normally time would time comes
that
up when they
Rose's room is
kiss, and normally
actually-
you'd be having a close up of May and Cody kissing, and as soon as their lips touch, it would be time. But I think it's because of this point of view, it's going to be time as soon as the cutscene starts.
Mhm.
So
And
time now.
So minute.
I love the ending of this game.
Yeah.
Like, this is such
Still
a
playing
cool
some
way to
too.
just finish it off. The fireworks, the
bad.
music is awesome. Oh, well done to
Yep.
Bam and LP3. This is all around a very good run. Oh, and they're going their classic. They're going to treat you guys to Bird Star at the very end.
Yeah.
All right.
So this
It's like DDR,
We
but
were a
even
minute
more
and a half
DDR.
off of estimate. Minute 27. That's
we
disgusting.
love Bird Star. And it's like, it's basically just, I think it's the exact same every time. It just gets real hectic at the end.
Yeah, it is. It's the exact same every time. Okay, so GG's to LP and Bam. That honestly might have been a PB, or it might have been very, very close to a PB for them. So big
You'll have to
GGs
ask them. I'm assuming that Bam ran a timer during it, so we'll have to, or LP3 for that matter, so I'll have to ask them what they got in-game time afterwards, because that was all around very clean.
Yes, very nice. Will we get the
Looks like
perfect
they're-
score?
It looks like they're both perfect so far. Can they finish strong?
Finish strong. Oh,
Oh,
Bam.
Bam missed two. No.
No.
Okay,
Bam's
well,
just-
very well done by the runners. Good job. And yeah, that is
Absolutely.
ITT. If you guys are interested in running this game at all, everything can be found over at our SRC page, speedrun.com/ITT. The Discord link is there along with a couple resources. But yeah, that's all you should really need. And yeah, you should come hang out, play the game, join the Discord, watch some runs. It's very cool.
Hey, I'm
I'll
here.
go through the Discord link in the
what's
Twitch
up?
chat as well. What did you guys
We just-
get in-game time?
155.28.
That's a PB!
Let's
minute and a half
go.
PB
Yeah,
in a marathon. That Rose's
See it.
room was clean.
that Rose's room is so good.
Very nice.
Other than
that was-
like a couple missed jumps on Clockwork, there was nothing I was disappointed with.
No, that was very clean. No,
I'm happy with
very, very well done.
that. I just have to give a shout out. Thanks Pika for that alt tab. Love it.
Yeah, because Pika started playing, he got alt tab during the DDR section, and it took too long.
That's not what I was like.
So funny.
Very
Um,
nice.
And then yeah, there was the stuff at the beginning. With the alt tab, there was stuff because that had to take us out of the audio.
I actually did really good at biting the dust. I just didn't know when you menu, you got to do the restart checkpoint, then switch your FPS.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are crack nasty.
Yeah, that was fun.
Appreciate you guys commentating.
Thank you guys for
Absolutely. Thanks for
commentating.
having us.
Thanks Bacon for the restream.
Thanks, Bacon.
Yes. Thanks everyone for having us. Had a good time commentating. And yeah,
And I think
come play again. This game's tight.
Yeah.
We will leave it up to the host now.
All right. Thank you to Bam and LP3 for a good It Takes Two run and a PB. I think it's the first PB of the marathon.
Let's
So,
go.
GG. We'll be right back. We will be having a restreamer change. And then we'll go into Player Game SK's Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped.
Very exciting.
So
Go!
switch over.